Everything here is made by Cuban people.
Here in Havana, like most cities, it's not hard to find hipsters. But that's where our story diverges from the typical, because here in Cuba, it's the government who officially sells the hipsters their clothing. There are two entrepreneurs out to change this. They founded a brand called Clandestina.
So I think we are like the first independent brand, or we pretend to be. And yeah, to be like a brand for young people, for young Cubans, for the new Cuba, like the contemporary Cuba that is now emerging.
To understand why this is so revolutionary, let's take a step back. For almost 60 years, Cuba has had just one brand. It's been patriotism. More specifically, it's been the triumph of the revolution. Cuba's brand strategy has been Cuba. So if you wanted socks, the state sold you socks. If you needed a toilet, the state sold you a toilet. And up until recently, the state has owned the clothing stores too. We went into one of those clothing stores in Havana's main shopping area to see what we could find. These look like they came from an outlet in a European country. So these are like outlet tags. And this is, yeah, EU. This is EU. The average salary here a month is $25. So this t-shirt that costs about $30, it's out of reach for most people here. Outlet.
Okay? No.
Gracias. Okay. Lo siento. Okay, the state very politely kicked us out. And in a metaphorical sense, there's a big chunk of Cuba's population who have felt booted from the state's official economy because it can be too expensive. So Cuba has had a second economy, the black market or informal economy. While it's been normalized and necessary, it's officially illegal. And the reality is that the almost 60-year US embargo has played a significant part. Goods are more expensive and scarce here. Sometimes you can't even find toilet paper. So Cubans have employed workarounds. Take for instance how people have created another way of getting clothing.
The clothes that we are buying, some people are doing this. They go to Russia, they go Ecuador or Panama.
Para la comunidad, porque no pueden adquirir hay muchas tiendas, no hay en las tiendas muchas cosas de las que aquí hay.
Fancy gyms or t-shirts, caps, sunglasses, that's the chance to buy.
Cubans are brand conscious, but it's a different story when it comes to Cuban brand.
¿Alguna marca cubana favorita que te guste?
No, es que aquí en Cuba no conocemos así, cubana.
Cuban brand? No, not really, no. We don't produce too much clothes.
Recently, another player has come on the scene. So right now we're in front of Hotel Manzana, and it is the first 5-star hotel here in Havana. Probably the largest contradiction on the island at the moment because it's very expensive, and on the ground floor there is a mall with stores that are completely out of reach of just about everyone in Cuba. It houses Cuba's first branches of L'Occitane, Mont Blanc, and Lacoste. And these luxury brands were invited here by the business arm of the Cuban military. While these stores have drawn Cuban crowds to view this first in their generation, few Cubans can afford it. A camera or watch can cost the average Cuban a lifetime of salary. So that's been Cuba's retail economy. There's been the Cuba brand, the no man's land of brands in the black market, and the now out of reach foreign brands. And that brings us back to Lady and Adanya and their startup Clandestina, Cuba's first independent fashion brand.
For us, Clandestina, we are building the brand, but at the same time we are building like a family.
I think Clandestina can inspire many things to many people, to be clandestina, to be outsider, to try to not to be involved, but to do things, to be active, and you have your own rules.
So this is awesome. This T-Rex is all over the Clandestina store, and they've got posters of it, and it's got some serious significance because it's very hard to get in line. So this comes from the symbol when you can't connect to the internet. Clandestina creatively uses this in their clothing as one of their marks. This is all about upcycling. You can see the buttons, they find the buttons. It'll fit me, but it'll stop right here.
Somehow, Cubans are reinventing everything, all the time. I think that we have that entrepreneur spirit.
From my experience starting companies, I've seen so much of their success or failure depend on their ability to deliver on their brand promise. I asked Lady and Adanya what it takes to pull this off here in Cuba.
Cuba is really unstable. The people, the market, the supplier, the clients, there are too much factors. They are going to change.
Adanya shows me what she found recently at the market.
These are very artisanal shoes. This is tires, and this material is maybe curtains or some second-hand fabric. This is one thing that we do. We just grab things and mix them, add something interesting, and it turns into a clandestine product.
Lady and Adanya invite me to go to the market where they scout for materials. So one afternoon, I join them in La Cuevita. You have bigger vision. You want this brand to represent clandestine, to represent Cuba and be out in the world. At some point, this is not going to be a good source of materials, right? Like you can't scale from here.
Behind this brand and behind this, there is like a philosophy, which is resolver, and means to upcycling, to reuse things, to be more ethical with the materials, with the environment. The idea of waste zero is really well represented here. But this is super hipster for New Yorkers, but here is out of necessity, because here is in the genetic of the Cubans, so now it's in the genetic of the brand.
We want that our products can be bought by Cubans, but Cubans' purchasing power is not as high as the tourists, for example. We are maybe 60% American tourists, and then the next customer are Cubans.
But the point is, we cannot grow in Cuba. We can feed the brand here in Cuba, but the business, we must do the business outside.
One of the things that make Clandestina a little bit special, we try to be in the middle, so it could be universal, but it's Cuban at the same time.
Besides building this great brand, they have something else in mind, something the state has found it hard to pull off.
For us, it's really important to do money, obviously, but the most important for us is to generate jobs, to give good salaries to the people, to hire young people and talented people, and we are doing this. And there are young people believing that they can do things, and they can create a brand, and they can do their own business too, and this is our goal in Cuba.
It's clear, the way to make it in Cuba is to always master the workaround and exploit your limitations. Cuba's challenges are what's pushing Clandestina to be an international brand, and brand Cuba in the process.